Welcome. Koen, Augustijnen, Rosalba, Torres, Guerrero. You both were a very long time dancer yourself. You was part of Rosas from Anna Teresa de Keersmaker for more than 9 years. Koen, you danced for many years with Le Ballet C de Le Bay. You made the performances. And now you're making this choreography, both. You are the artistic directors of Siamese company. What's more nervous for you? To be on stage as a dancer yourself, or to be backstage or behind the technique and seeing your choreography dance by other dancers? What's more nervous?
Well, I don't think there is a certain, I would say, expectation from both sides. Yeah, so depending on the performance, the state of the performance, how much time we have to rehearse in the afternoon or whatever, we can be in expectation in both situations. And of course, it's very beautiful also to see things happening and to see. Actually, the most beautiful thing is to see when the dancers really understood what we wanted to do with them and that they fly free. This is the most beautiful moment when actually we are just there to give a caress to the left, a caress to the right, to just like drop a few words, but actually they're just piloting the whole thing because they just took it for themselves, and that they really can move freely into the work. This is very, very beautiful to see.
And were they very freely this evening? Did they dance freely?
Ja,
Yeah?
ja, ik denk wel. Ik ben meer nerveus als ik achter de tafel zit eigenlijk.
Yeah, you're more nervous there?
Ja,
Yeah?
ik
Why?
denk, omdat de energie slaagt naar binnen. Als je op de scène staat en je danst, te gaan naar buiten. Tuurlijk, je moet je rol natuurlijk wel kennen, anders dan word je wel stiek nerveus.
So when you're on stage, your energy goes out, and there
Yes,
your
it
energy
goes in. Yeah.
And did you know the statement from the dancers after the applause? Did you know that they asking for solidarity with Greek art? What's behind this statement? What's happening?
Well, they're having a very harsh situation, and the situation for artists is getting really. It's like a rake. So.
Well, actually, their diploma, because most of them they were in a dance school conservatorium. It's like or some did a master or something, but now they just get the same level as coming just from high school. So that's people who leave high school. Hoe noem je in Nederlands? Hoe zeg je dat?
Ja, middelbaar. Dus...
De middelbaar onderwijs, ja. Dus hun diploma wordt wordt op hetzelfde niveau gebracht als het middelbaar onderwijs.
They lost their education, they lost the possibilities for development in the art.
Ja, als zij willen workshops geven of als zij willen een stage geven, worden zij betaald alsof dat ze net uit het middelbaar onderwijs komen. 18-jarigen. Maar ze hebben 4-5 jaar gestudeerd, minstens. Dus dat is totaal respectloos. Maar daarbuiten gaat het ook nog eens heel slecht met de economie in Griekenland. En is er een heel rechtse regering aan de macht. En ja, dans, dat is nu wel het laatste van hun interesses, denk ik. Ja.
That's a very hard time for the dancers there. You went to the north of Greece to do research to this tradition of mourning, this lamentations, the miroloi. What is so special about this miroloi in the north of Greece that you made a performance about it?
Well, you have mirolois all over Greece, but I don't know from every region, but I hear it from a few regions. But I felt there in the north the influence from the Balkan also. And I felt something very ancient. It felt like a, I was walking in the mountains there, and I felt like, the rhythm was how I was walking when I was going up the mountains. And a lot of these songs were made by people who were with the goats and with the sheep in the mountains for
And what
days.
do you
And they
mean by
had time
ancient?
to invent also the texts and the melodies. But the rhythm has something to do with the walking, and it's also maybe a
And what do you
heartbeat.
mean by ancient, like the ancient culture?
Well, yeah, some of the songs are more than 500 years old. So and they go for a long time, and it's an oral tradition, and they transformed and with the time.
And is it important to know where they are thinking about? What is the text? Is
Well,
it-
mostly.
Yeah, most of the texts speak about loss, and some woman who's next to the sea and calls out for her husband that has been disappearing in the sea. But for example, you have all the lamentation, but all the end parts where it becomes more bright. It's a song who says about you've got the Charos, the one who controls the underworld. And so they said, like, before you get there, you have to enjoy life because it's here and now. Once you pass, it's gone. So it's really an invitation to really take every every bit of life and really, really live it to the full. So it's really this invitation in the text at the end. So it's like you first have all the text about the pain, the lamentation, the loss, and then life. Yeah.
So the last song with the electric guitar, the final, this is not a miroloi. But the other, for example, the first one is really with a funeral. It's about a woman and it's a funeral, and they feel so powerless, and what can we do to bring you back? And that's why they are stamping and clapping. And it's a connection between the earth. They want to take her back. They want to make her alive again, but they're also somehow it's too up there to please help us bring her back. The second, for example, is with a man voice, with a duo, with the two men. It's a father who sings, who's very sad because his son is gonna emigrate. He's gonna go on exile. So there was a lot of, so that's a few examples.
So it's not only about funerals, it's
No,
also
it's-
about exile,
Yeah.
or when you're leaving a part of your life.
Loss,
Yeah.
in general.
Loss.
Loss in general.
Also, in the marriage, sometimes in the marriage they do it also because it's a drama. The woman, or it depends, but mostly it's the girl, I think, who goes leaves the house and
That's the classical way.
goes to live in the house of the family of her husband.
And
it
I
used to
saw
be like
they
that.
used some bells. That they were bells, like what does it mean?
This is really from traditional dance. They use it also because you have a lot of things which are unisono, and you've got a leader, and sometimes with the belts they help him to jump higher, so he can hang on to this, and then he can go from down to up, and they can help him out so the belt helps the flying up of the.
So it's part of the traditional folk dance.
Yes.
And how did you use that folk dance in your contemporary performance?
How?
Well, it was first. We focus with the music more on a region, but for the dance, we really received the one of the dancers, and they come from different regions. So they proposed. It's so rich, the culture in Greece. So they really proposed their own traditional dance from their region. But you also have to know that in their training. Learning different types of traditional dance is really part of their formation. So they of course proposed a lot of things, and from that, you have different types of counts. and different, so it has different syncopes, and then we start to play around how, first very basically, like how can you speed it up, how can you slow it down, and into the process of putting different parameters of transformation into those dance, you at the same time, that's our work, to try to keep the soul of it, but to let it be influenced by other elements. Sometimes we ask also the dancers to make a sort of fake traditional dance. So it doesn't really exist. And it's like their own. It looks alike, but it's
fake?
already...
No, actually, we asked, what would be your own traditional dance?
Yes.
We didn't ask them to
No, not to fake,
fake it, but
No.
Can you
it was
give
their own traditional dance. That was the task.
Yes, that's better expressed, indeed.
And
Can you
for-
give an example?
Yeah, for example, the whole first scene with the stamping and the clapping. This was one girl who made a small phrase where she was hitting her body and stamping on the feet, and we said, this is interesting. Continue with this. This is her personal traditional dance, and then we asked all of them to work with this, with stamping, clapping, and body percussion, and to make something with this. So it's not a real traditional authentic dance. There was even some Greeks who thought that there was flamenco influence in it, but it's not, but it's because of the heavy stamping maybe.
And how do you avoid the danger of that you maybe took their tradition to appropriate, to make it your, you understand, to make it your culture performance, that you take it with you? You understand what I mean?
Yeah, well, actually, it was first of all, it was a demand of Greeks, of Greek people. It was a Greek. We played with another performance which we made with Palestinian dancers and with Palestinian traditional dance in dialogue with contemporary dance. We played in Greece in the Kalamata festival. It's in the Peloponnesus in the south, and the Greeks, they went out of their head. They loved it, this piece, and they said, "Wow, we have this also. We have this also. You have to come to us."
They ask you to make
Yes.
a choreographer with the dancers.
They asked, "Come and do a project here because it's you do it with respect, and at the same time you're free because you don't have all the how would I say, all the knowledge or the weight of a tradition of on your shoulders. It's like
You are
some
more free
Germans, they
because-
wouldn't touch Bach. You cannot touch Bach, the music of Bach, because it's holy. And I mean, it depends. There's of course Greeks. We met some Greek dancers who were already experimenting with traditional dance and contemporary dance.
And Rosalba, did you really feel more free to work with this tradition? That's not yours, but that's her, from them?
It's not about being more free, it's just an interest. And so there is something in that dance that I can recognize, but it's not something I do practice. But also, like, the dance has, you know, the traditional dance in general, they come from something very rooted, or because they were going to the fields, or because they were, you know, like, and then all those movements after they get, like, you carry something, or and then it gets little by little transformed, but you can also feel the, how do you say, I don't find the word, the remains of the content. So because of the rhythm, because of also, like, we are used to count in 8, but they don't. They have the 8, but they have 5, they have 6, they have 9. So there are some things that are going a little bit into, and this also tells something when you're not into a square thing, but suddenly you've got things that go a little bit faster, a little bit slower, and they have those syncope. And all this, even if you cannot verbalize it, oh, it means this or it means that, but you still feel that through those steps comes from far away. And so actually our duty is to keep that thing alive, even if we bring other influences on this dance. So it's very delicate and it's very interesting, because also like I want to and we want to understand, how does it work? How can we use all the personalities that we have chosen, all the specificity, all the character, the personality into this dance, and at the same time meeting a project that we have. So it's a conversation. We don't come with things ready saying, you have to do this. No. So it's a long process. So personally, I don't feel that I'm taking something. We have like sort of mutual invitation to meet each other, like with what we are, all of us, and then we meet. That's what human beings do forever. They do meet and they do exchange things. So this is what we do in the dance. So there was never spoken something about why you take
would you explain
this.
why it is so important for you to bring it to the north of Europe, to here, in Heerlen and...
Well, you know, when I go, for example, in a funeral in my family, most with my father not, he didn't want to have a service in the church, but most people of the family who pass away, they want to have a service in the church. We go to the church, but nobody believes anymore, or not so many people. They hardly listen to the priest who's giving the speech. Then we drink a coffee afterwards.
Coffee met cake, yes.
And we eat pistolet, and we say, we should see each other again. It was, let's meet again, but not in a funeral. And the next time it's again a funeral. And the next day, life goes on, like nothing. Or you have to perform, you have to work, you have to continue, the children are there. And I feel, when I was there in Greece, especially in the countryside, in the cities it's changing also, you see there is still time and space to be sad, to mourn, to...
Collective also.
Ja, er is plaats en tijd voor rouw. And you can express emotionally your sadness, your angriness, your frustration, everything goes with loss. So there is time to process the loss, and then in order to go on then.
So don't lock it up inside. But
And I feel like in Belgium, and I think probably it's in Holland also, or in the north of Europe, everything goes in, and then some people, they digest it somehow themselves, and others it comes out later in a strange way or not. But I think it's healthy that you can express it, and that there is time for this there's a time to have joy and party, but there's also time for something else.
Yeah, and that it's also sort of supported by the community, by the people around, you know, like it's like, I can't remember exactly, but after, I think 40 days you have another ceremony. So like, and you're not alone. People do, and then through the physicality, through the singing, through the music, then there is something that is lived bodily, because sorrow is not only something in the head, it's something in the body, it's something in the veins. And so the fact of being able to dance it, to sing it, this is part also of what we are and about life. And it seemed to us important to sort of bring this, even if it's a country performance that has, but somehow it's something that we wanted to bring up here, because unfortunately we lost most of our rituals, and some part of the world they still have strong rituals, And I think it's very inspiring to know that it's still possible to be a body and a mind, and with all what the body says from the range of full joy to full sadness. And that's
so
the goal.
That we can mourn together, and that we can scream and dance.
But it doesn't have to be always so. I mean, at some moments it can be very tragic, because they also have a culture of the weeping woman. So these are women who are paid to come and cry and weep during the funeral. That's still something else. But you have it also. You have in the villages in August or in the summer. You have the feasts of the saints, the feasts of the harvest, and in the villages there's always an orchestra playing on a square, and then there's hundreds of people coming there. They eat and then they start to dance. And sometimes they say, can you play this song for Maria who died last year or 2 years ago? Let's dance for her. And they start to dance, and it starts slow, and then they speed up the rhythm till it becomes something like a whirlpool going over the square, a human whirlpool goes over the square. So there's different ways of using the Miroloi also.
I'm curious if there's someone in the audience who wants to make a remark or tell something about emotions. Question? It's very dark, and we have a little light in the... Is there anyone who wants to say something?
When the music started and the dance started, it was immediately that you get into it. It was the old dance, and you felt and with them. So, and then the mother, I was very surprised and that they danced 1.5 hours, and I always think, how can you remember what you are doing? So that's for me. But I thought it was very beautiful. Yes.
It's often a question from the audience. How can they remember all they're doing 1.5 hours on stage?
Step by step, like we build things. Like we don't build the whole thing. So we search, and while searching, things get fixed. And because you repeat them a lot, because you search around it, then the memory gets, and then you remember that you have this person next to you, this, and that it moves like this in the space. And so it's a process. It's not that you have to memorize like 100 pages of a text at once. It's just like it's bit by bit, and also because you go through transformation, so you remember how you come from and how you transform, and things little by little get settled. It's not at once.
We rehearsed for 3 months. That was the process too, with the dancers in the studio.
That's not long for me, I think.
Yeah, and you made it a few years ago, so that it's all in the physical memory.
Yes.
Yeah. Now they have it just.
Well, they always for example, now it's the beginning of a tour, so they had 2 times an afternoon in Athens that they came into the studio to remember a bit. Yeah.
And one question, because I thought there were 9 dancers, but I thought 8. Did you lost one?
Yes. This has to do with the situation in Greece. He was in a project, and it was very important for him, in a big hall, and they worked for months and months on it. And the dates of the premiere were before today. And then they changed it. And they didn't, in the organization, they didn't want to take in consideration
so
that we had a performance here. So I was very angry, because I said, look, we had the date first, and this is how normally it goes, and then you have to adapt, the other ones have to adapt, who have later dates. But it felt like he was in such a trouble if this project couldn't go on. Then I said, okay.
But we learned this evening that how to deal with loss. Yes. So you lost the dancer.
Yes. So, and he has good colleagues that are ready to take over the parts. Yeah.
It's not the first time that somebody is missing because of an injury or sickness or different reasons. But there's not a lot of work for the dancers for the moment. So they take what they can, and then there's a lot of pressure on them to make the project happen.
And you don't have understudies in your company like...
Unfortunately, not.
No.
Yeah.
Are there more questions? Okay. Now,
Actually, we don't have understudies because we really make the material for the dancer we chose. So it's not we replace A for B or B for A. It's just like we have a special personality in front of us. We have chosen this person, and then we build the material for this person and with this person. So that's why all the understudies should be there from the beginning. So it's not only a financial problem, but it's also like an artistic choice. It's just like we work with specific people.
with these personalities
Yes.
and these musicians. Unfortunately, they aren't live here, but they were on a band, a perfect score of music with Xantula
Xantula da Covano.
Yeah,
We recorded with 15 musicians in Athens.
15
Yeah,
musicians.
and she's a singer, and she's also she's married with one of the dancers.
Which one? Which one?
The one who does the oldest one, the one
The
who,
grey hair.
with the beard.
With the beard.
Yeah. I mean, there's another one with the beard, but the oldest one who does the first solo, who plays a bit the father who.
And you are also a couple. You are now 30 years in love?
20
years in love. Oh, 20 years in love. Okay. So, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the performance. Please watch the site from Schietmacher to see a lot of other performances are coming from Canada, from South Africa, from Chinese also. Thank you for coming to this. This was Lamenta from Siamese company Rosalba and Koen. Thank you. See you next time in Schietmacher.
Thank you.